The lights were dazzling, the laughter infectious, and the energy inside Kelly Clarkson's studio buzzed with the usual warmth that made millions tune in every day. Kelly's show was known for its joy, for those spontaneous bursts of laughter, heartfelt conversations, and emotional surprises. Today's guest was Gwen Stefani, radiant, stylish, and effortlessly charismatic. It was supposed to be an easy, light-hearted conversation between two music icons who shared not only fame but genuine admiration. No one, not even the crew, could have predicted that beneath the perfect smiles and glimmering stage lights, something raw and deeply human was about to unfold. When Gwen stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted in cheers. She waved, dazzling in her unique blend of punk edge and glam beauty, her signature red lipstick glowing under the spotlights. Kelly greeted her with that wide, genuine Texas smile that made everyone feel at home. They hugged, exchanged compliments, and sat down on the bright, floral set. For the first few minutes, it was everything fans loved, stories about family, about The Voice, about Gwen's journey as a mother and artist. The audience hung on every word, laughing when Kelly laughed, sighing when Gwen spoke tenderly about her kids. But then, as live TV often does, the conversation shifted, unexpectedly, unscripted. Kelly brought up something small, harmless even, but it landed differently than she intended. "You know, Gwen," Kelly said with a chuckle, "you've been in this business forever, sometimes I wonder how you keep reinventing yourself. Don't you ever just slow down?" It was meant as admiration, but something in Gwen's expression changed, just slightly. She smiled, but it was tight, almost fragile. "Well," she replied softly, "sometimes when I slow down, people think I'm fading." Kelly blinked, caught off guard. "Oh no, that's not what I meant," she said quickly. But the audience sensed the shift. The laughter quieted. Gwen took a deep breath, her hands clasped together, and for a moment, she wasn't the rock star or the TV coach, she was a woman trying to hold her composure in front of a world that always expected perfection. Kelly reached out gently, trying to ease the tension. "You know I admire you so much. You've inspired me more than you know." But Gwen's heart wasn't on the stage anymore. Her mind was replaying months of criticism, headlines about her marriage, online comments about her age, her music, her looks. The industry had taught her how to smile through pain, but that day, something inside her snapped, not in anger, but in quiet exhaustion. She looked at Kelly, her eyes kind yet full of unspoken hurt. "Sometimes, Kelly," she said softly, "people think that if you're smiling, you're okay. But sometimes, the people smiling the brightest are holding the heaviest things." The room fell utterly still. The camera caught the tears shimmering at the corner of her eyes. "I've been trying to be strong, to keep giving, to keep being grateful. But even kindness gets heavy when no one sees how much it costs." Kelly's face softened, her own voice trembling. But before she could finish, Gwen stood slowly, unclipped her mic, and whispered, "I think I need a moment." She smiled weakly at the audience, said, "Thank you," and walked off the stage. The silence that followed was unlike anything that had ever happened on Kelly's show. The audience didn't clap, they didn't cheer, they just watched the door close behind her, stunned. Kelly, emotional but composed, turned back to the camera. "Sometimes," she said gently, "we forget that even the strongest people need grace." The show cut to a commercial, but the moment had already captured millions of hearts. Backstage, Gwen sat alone in the green room, her hands trembling. She wasn't angry at Kelly. She wasn't even angry at the question. She was just tired. Tired of always being the strong one, the smiling one, the perfectly put together woman who never faltered. A producer knocked softly on the door, asking if she wanted to go back out, but Gwen just shook her head. "Not right now," she said. "Just give me a little time." Kelly didn't hesitate. As soon as the cameras went off, she left the stage and went to find her. When she saw Gwen sitting there, shoulders hunched, makeup slightly smudged, she didn't say anything at first. She just sat beside her. Two women, both mothers, both dreamers, both exhausted from the expectations that came with being loved by millions. "I'm sorry," Kelly whispered. Gwen shook her head. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said softly. "It's just, this world keeps asking us to smile, to keep giving, to keep pretending we're fine. And I think today, I just couldn't pretend anymore." Kelly nodded, tears in her eyes. "You know," she said, "when I first started this show, I promised myself I'd always make it a place for real moments, not just TV ones. I think this was one of them." Gwen smiled faintly, the first real smile in hours. "Maybe," she said, "real is what we all need a little more of." The next day, social media was flooded with clips of Gwen's walk-off. Some called it dramatic, others called it brave. But among the chaos of opinions, one particular comment went viral. It read, "What if instead of judging her for walking off, we asked what kind of pain made her leave?" That comment became a movement. The hashtag #BeKindEnough began trending across platforms. People shared stories about moments when they, too, had smiled through pain, when they needed kindness instead of criticism. Gwen stayed quiet for a few days, staying home with her kids, baking, planting in her garden, reconnecting with the parts of life that didn't require applause. She finally broke her silence with a post on Instagram, a simple photo of her holding a white rose with the caption, "Sometimes stepping away is the most honest thing you can do. Be gentle, with yourself, and with others." The post gathered millions of likes, but more importantly, it touched people in a way that no song or interview ever could. A week later, Gwen returned to Kelly's show. Not for the cameras, not for damage control, but for closure. The two women walked onto the stage together, holding hands. The audience stood, cheering, but this time the energy was softer, more human. Kelly smiled at Gwen and said, "You don't owe anyone perfection." Gwen nodded. "Neither do you." They spoke openly about vulnerability, about the pressures of fame, about how women, especially in entertainment, are expected to carry grace like armor even when they're breaking inside. "We're all fighting something," Kelly said, her voice thick with emotion. "But we can fight it better if we stop pretending we're alone." When the show ended, there were no flashy performances or jokes, just two women embracing, tears streaming down, surrounded by an audience who understood that kindness was not weakness, but power. After the taping, Kelly walked Gwen to her car. The sky was turning gold with the setting sun. Gwen turned to her and said, "You know, Kelly, maybe that moment wasn't a breakdown. Maybe it was a breakthrough." Kelly smiled softly. "Yeah," she said. "The kind we all need once in a while." That episode went down as one of the most powerful in daytime TV history, not because of the drama, but because of the honesty. For weeks afterward, fans wrote letters, sharing how Gwen's moment of vulnerability gave them courage to pause, to rest, to be kind to themselves. Gwen later said in an interview, "That day reminded me that humanity still exists, even when the cameras are rolling. We just have to choose it. And maybe that was the true beauty of it all. Not the argument. Not the storming off. But the reminder that even in a world obsessed with appearances, there is room for grace. That kindness, quiet, selfless, genuine kindness, still has the power to heal, to connect, to remind us that beneath the fame, beneath the smiles, we are all just human." And as the lights dimmed on that once controversial episode, something beautiful happened. The world didn't remember it as a fight. They remembered it as the day two women showed that the most powerful act on live television wasn't a performance, it was compassion.